So Tyler, are you there? Hi, Tyler. Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, good. All right. So I'm gonna turn off my Zoom and you're gonna be by yourself. Yeah, as a host.
Okay.
All right. Talk to you later. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay. Okay. So this is a public meeting, no, under the open meeting law. And so we have members and guests joining us online via Zoom. And we also have AJC staff here at the not AJCC, staff here at the AJC for individuals that are wishing to join us in person. To document the minutes properly, we will ask that everyone identify themselves with their full name and organization. And so we'll start with the individuals that are joining us online. So Cheryl, do you want to do us the honors?
Aloha. Thank you, Derek. It's good to see you with a microphone in your hand. Even greater to see you all at the AJC and utilizing that beautiful conference room. My name is Cheryl Cross. I represent Inkanen Executive Search, but I'm also a proud council person, executive board member for the Workforce Development Council, along with Derek and Carrie and a few others. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. Jackie.
Hi, everyone. Jackie Lowe with Chaminade University of Honolulu.
Thank you, Jackie. Rosella.
Aloha, everyone. I'm Rosella Gardashone. I'm the Director of Human Resources here at the Marriott King Kamehameha's Kona Beach Resort, and I'm also the Chair for the County of Hawaii's Workforce Development Board.
Thank you, Rosella. And Kazu, looks like you joined us as well.
Hi, Kazu Hayashida, Workforce Planning Manager for Hawaiian Electric.
Great. Thanks, Kazu. And then in the room? Oh, that's right. Sorry, we have to give them the mic. Sorry.
Carrie Miyashiro, Quad D Solutions.
Tamara Addison, Oahu Transit Services.
Thomas Chalk, Department of Business, Economic Development and Tourism for the state of Hawaii.
Bennett Misalucha, Executive Director, Workforce Development Council.
All right, thank you very much. So before we begin the meeting, I did just want to share some of the more high-level plans that we have for the Employer Engagement Committee meeting this year. I did, right? This is a public meeting. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so again, before I begin, I did want to just share just some high-level plans of what the Employer Engagement Committee has in store for you this year. Really, and one of the goals for us is to increase the engagement with our business community. And we plan to do that by creating resources and partnerships, also expanding your network as well. We're hopeful that we can put together an employer boot camp, all of those different activities this year. One of our sub goals is really to help better utilize the American Job Centers as well. As many of you know, if you're familiar with the American Job Centers, or as we're joking, many of us might know it as Oahu Work Links, they are not as utilized as we'd like them to be. And so by creating these partnerships, maybe even a PR campaign, we're hoping to sort of change that perception, but also change the utilization of the AJCs. Bennett did share that there's an RFP. I don't know what that RFP is about. Did you want to talk a little bit about that as well? Okay. All right. So Bennett will talk a little bit about an RFP that's out right now for services. And I think that RFP closes February 4th. Okay. Okay. So I guess at the on the agenda, the first item up is an update on WOTC, or the Work Opportunity Tax Credit. Unfortunately, no good news to share with you, but some of you may have seen the news clip that aired in December, in which it highlighted the fact that we have about 36,000 WOTC claims that are still in the backlog, that are backlogged. I did have a chance to meet with Maricar. We had a 2-hour sit-down meeting to better understand why the backlog, what can be done, what have they tried to do, and hopefully, how they can address it. She did share with me some of the more systemic issues, the technological issues that they're working through. We talked about some ideas in helping maybe staff up DHS, allocating some resources from Workforce Development Division over to DHS. She did share with me last week that all of those ideas were knocked down. And unfortunately, they did not come back with an alternate solution to help address the backlog. All that to say that we are still at 36,000 roughly. Some of the issues that she talked about with me were, I think on the front end, when claims are filed, the third-party agencies will automatically select every single agency that the that the claim could qualify under, even if an individual was clearly not a veteran, was not going to meet some of these requirements from the different agencies, but it's probably their practice to just select every single box, which then requires every single agency to look at the claim. And so that sort of check all the boxes approach creates additional work. Many of the agencies, I think she said 90% of the time, don't have that individual on record, or they don't qualify for a WOTC under that program. So there's a lot of this extra work that's being created. I also did acknowledge the fact that it isn't just Hawaii that has a backlog. Many of the states, especially on the Western US, have a number of backlogs, some worse than ours, which does not make it okay that we have these backlogs. But I think what I had committed to Maricar is that we're going to stay on top of this as a committee. They need to reach out to us as well if there are resources that they're considering, or if they want to sort of have these discussions on ideas and discussions on how we think we could help to improve the backlog. What we don't want is for them to stay radio silent and not share with us what's going on. I know Cheryl has been sort of trying to address this head on for many, many years. I think when I first joined the Employer Engagement Committee over 5 years ago, it was an issue. I don't think it was as bad as it is today. And Maricar's last words to me during the meeting was that there's a lot to do with staffing. I'm sorry, is she part of Workforce Development Division, right? It seems like almost half of their staff, they don't have maybe 50%, they're understaffed by about 50% within Workforce Division. And so, unfortunately, she didn't have any proposed solutions. I think if I didn't press her on the fact that we're going to demand updates and we're going to demand that this get better, I don't think that would have been a commitment she could have made comfortably. But if anyone is interested in, I know Cheryl is very interested in it, but if there's any of you that are also interested in maybe coming together and figuring out a way that we can maybe have regular meetings with Maricar, I think having our presence there just sort of reinforces our commitment to making this having a better outcome, from obviously from where we are today. So um, I was hoping to have better news for you all. I was very excited that we even had that meeting and that she spent the time that she did with me. But unfortunately, it didn't lead to much hope at this point, to be honest.
Thank you, Derek. Can I
Um,
add something? I just want to say thank you for your time and energy. I know have been part of employer engagement for many years. And now as chair, you're really taking the bull by the horns. I said this in the last meeting. I'm absolutely floored at the inadequacy of the resolution on this. I'm poised to ask for an audit. I don't want to do this on my own. I don't think this should be just one lone voice. I think our legislature, I think our senators need to know that we're really up against a wall. So I just want to put it out there that this is a discussion. This isn't the Cheryl show. This is the Employer Engagement Committee. And I am just a very proud part of your committee. So I'm willing to take the extra step if others are. Thank you.
Sorry, I think we lost you on the audio there,
Can you hear me now?
Cheryl.
No.
We were
Can you
able
hear me?
to hear. I was able to hear you.
There. Okay.
Okay. Jackie,
No.
thank you. Can you hear me now, Derek?
Yes.
Okay. Jackie, I don't
So
know
we
what you
lost
heard.
you after the Cheryl show.
Oh, that was it. That was it.
Oh, we lost you again. Okay, well, hold that thought, and we'll have a more in-depth discussion when we sort of regroup. Perfect. Jackie, did you want to share anything at all
No,
about
just that I
WATC?
was able to hear Cheryl.
Okay.
Like, don't worry, I got
All
you.
right. All right. Thank you. Okay. Moving along, we will go ahead and we'll proceed with today's report. So I'll turn it over to Banette, who's going to give our update.
Okay, actually, I'm supposed to do a status on the implementation of the state unified plan. And if I can have Tyler share my slides. This is the second one, the one that says implementation. The other one says annual report, right? So, yes, I think so. Right. So, for those of you who, uh, again, by way of context, by way of background, the unified plan was submitted in April, approved in May or June, and is now in the process of implementation. So, the impetus for the Synergy Summit was the implementation of that unified plan. So, we held it in December, and a number of our directors were there. So, this is an overview of what to expect. What's the next steps? Go ahead, Tyler. So, as mentioned, we had 70 stakeholders who were gathered at the Foreign Trade Zone conference room. It was composed of the public, private, businesses, nonprofits, philanthropy. The focus of the Workforce Synergy Summit is really to capitalize on an integrated approach. And we have 4 pillars in the plan, and from those 4 pillars were created pillar catalyst teams. And the 4 pillars are alignment with economic growth, alliance with training and education entities, ensuring equity and diversity, and creating workforce synergy. It was a very inspiring and aspirational session. And one of the things that we're really hopeful about is the process of identifying a North Star goal. What we're trying to do here is to really integrate and put into something meaningful all the aspirations of all the various stakeholders under workforce development. Many of our entities, many of our stakeholders have been working on workforce development issues and goals for a number of years. But this is really the first time that we're trying to collaborate and operate under hopefully a North Star. I mean by that is I'm going to illustrate that by example. Where in the energy sector back in 2018 also came together and established a goal of 100% um, uh, what do you call that energy what is renewable energy by 2045. So at that meeting we had Jeff Mikolina from the energy sector who shared with us the process, the journey by which they took. And again, I think it opened all our eyes to the realm of possibilities. And as a result, those teams were created, and it was really energizing to see that this is something that is community and industry led, not just government, being at the forefront and taking a top-down approach. So the teams will be meeting in January and February to plan the next steps, and I hope that we can come back here with some updates on where exactly those teams will be at. But hopefully within this full year, we'll have implementation of those issues and the challenges that are addressed in the unified plan. That's all I have, Chair. Any questions?
Lynette, I don't have any questions, but I would like to share with the group that I was fortunate to be in attendance at the Workforce Synergy Summit. It was extremely valuable, and as chair for the County of Hawaii's Workforce Development Board, it brought to me and my executive director a lot of insight. I'm excited to be part of the alignment with economic growth team, and so looking forward to more to come. But great job, Vanette.
Thank you for those comments. We kept this slide up here because I just want to reiterate that the Employer Engagement Committee is really working around Pillar 1, which is alignment with economic growth. And I'll just sort of restate it for you to place emphasis on what that is. And Pillar 1, which is alignment with economic growth, talks about how can the Employer Engagement Committee ensure that workforce development initiatives are closely aligned with evolving needs of the state's economic development strategies. Also, how can we foster greater collaboration between economic development agencies and employers to ensure our programs are responsive to market demands? So again, we look forward to the updates for those of us that are part of the Catalyst teams. We look forward to the exciting work that's ahead of us. Next up on the agenda, we have Thomas Chalk from the Hawaii Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism. He'll be doing a presentation for us on the emerging industries in Hawaii. And oh, he's the Catalyst team leader. Okay. All right. Well, you should have talked about that. No.
Nah, I'm the co-team leader. So Dan Durger is my partner in crime on that one. So, yeah. So while Tyler's getting my slides ready, these slides are from a presentation that DBED made on Friday to the House Finance Committee, and then yesterday to the Senate Ways and Means Committee. And let's see, how can I put this? This is all the brainchild of Jimmy and Dane, Director Tokioka and Deputy Director Wicker. And I've had conversations specific to creative industries with Deputy Director Wicker over the last 6 months as we've been working on a report for HCR 184, which is a House Concurrent Resolution that was passed last legislative session. And we prepared a report to respond to that around the music industry and the fashion industry. But through many of those conversations and meetings, I was able to kind of catch a glimpse of what the director's office vision is for economic development and their ongoing focus on workforce development in that context, right? It's kind of like workforce development and economic development have to go hand in hand. So, okay. So in the presentation, they showed this kind of as a very high level concept of how they're approaching economic development in their role as DBED, right? So first, like, what is the state of Hawaii's economy? I liken this to the "You Are Here" dot at the mall. You know, when you go to a mall like Kahala Mall and Ala Moana or whatever, you look for the map and you see the "You Are Here" dot, so you can know where you're at. So then you can map out your path to where you want to go. Second, how do we anchor and diversify Hawaii's economy and reverse brain drain? Director Tokioka shares how, from his perspective, many local families who have children that are in high school or graduating high school or just beyond that can't afford to send their kids away to go to school to get the education they need or get the training they need to get the better jobs. And so that's the story, that's the narrative that I've heard Director Tokioka share often. I believe he shared it at both presentations as well, as kind of that's the pinch, that's a pain point that he's trying to address. Um, and then you have this framework of cradle to career, kindergarten to career, however you want to talk about it. But basically, this is where the workforce development, the career pathways, kind of lies in this circle, I guess. And then the last thing is implementation, which, I mean, the way I think of it is a lot of these things are words on a piece of paper. They're words that that people say in front of, you know, committees and during hearings and what have you. But ultimately, it's where we actually implement and execute on these plans where we can start getting, you know, making progress. So um, I will kind of preface the rest of the slides by saying that a lot of this is just kind of like a strategic overview of where DBED is looking. But I hope that I have time to show like where they have implemented and how the value add facility in Wahiwa is kind of the model they would like to follow for other industries in Hawaii. So the sectors that they are specifically looking at is technology and innovation, product development, and creative industries. So in tech and innovation, you have aerospace, advanced manufacturing, healthcare, and energy. Just as a side note for me, because part of the reason why Director Tokioka and Deputy Director Wicker asked me to be more involved with workforce development and to even delegate me to be on the Workforce Development Council is because of Good Jobs Hawaii. And Good Jobs Hawaii, I was the lead for the creative sector, but the other three sectors were healthcare, IT, and energy. And so you can see like how it's not just in DBED, it's not just at the University of Hawaii, it's across the entire state that we're looking at these sectors as emerging sectors where the opportunity lies and where there's good jobs for people, for Hawaii's people to be able to survive at least here in Hawaii, right? We have the creative industries, there's media, there's fashion and design and music. And a lot of this is driven by media, obviously, is driven by the humongous film and television industry. A bit of a downturn right now globally, not just here in Hawaii, not just NCIS, the series leaving, but just globally, a lot of production is down with the fires in Los Angeles. It's exacerbating that as well. So some challenges there, but there's some plans in place to prop up more local media production, fashion and design and music. I mentioned that before in conjunction with the HCR 184. And the idea there is to build an innovation center, a creative lab innovation center, where people can go to um, test out their ideas, to continue to grow their skill set, those kinds of things. And I'll explain that more when I get to the value add facility. And then you have the value add products, food and non-food products, intellectual property. So these are the kind of the, again, high level macro view, um, uh, the areas that DBED is trying to focus on in terms of economic development. And we see this, um, some of the workforce development stuff that we work on in context of Workforce Development Council, you see curriculum to career, um, Dane has me reaching out to the DOE and digging into the CTE pathways, trying to see where that is. Working with Stacy from P20, and as she maps out the career pathways, and then also working with the University of Hawaii, community colleges, and as well as the four-year campuses, kind of see where that whole pipeline goes, and then the other piece, which I think is part of this specific committee's work, right, is like how is this responsive to industry needs and what industry is saying, where the opportunities are, what trainings are needed to get our younger generations prepared for the jobs of tomorrow. And then we have infrastructure and facilities. Just that's but again, it's not just about building buildings, but it's about the programming and the well thought out budgets for, I mean, simple things like security for the building or technical expertise for people who are either in providing instruction and training or to assist people who are going to be using those facilities. And then of course policy changes and then incentives. In creative industries is obviously the film tax credit, but there are other tax credits and other ideas about how we can incentivize not just the current businesses to continue to grow, but emerging industry opportunities. The Creative to Career, I mean, this is just kind of the overall plan that Deputy Director Wicker has shared with me, and things that I'm helping him with. Again, it's like kind of starting, where are we? What is the pathway as it currently exists? How do we line up that pathway with what industry needs, or try to anticipate what industry is going to need in 5 years or 10 years or what have you? And then trying to build an ecosystem to support that. A lot of their presentation was about the idea of exporting, and because we're an island or a bunch of islands in the middle of the largest body of water on the planet, there's certain things that is easier, I guess, to export than others. So you have non-food products, intellectual property, obviously services. So trying to look for ways that we can leverage our strengths. Instead of always trying to play catch up in the areas that are not our strengths, I guess. So again, with regards to the Workforce Development Council, this is again what we're looking at, trying to map out with a lot more clarity. And I think the important piece we see there in that third box there, internships, apprenticeships, DLIR, Workforce Development Council. I think the DOE complex areas and the University of Hawaii and the community colleges, we kind of have a handle at least on that. We know who to talk to at least, and we can get the conversation started there. I think this third box is a big part of the maybe the next phase, or the kind of the big puka that we're trying to figure out how to develop more internships, how to develop the right internships, how to develop high quality internships. I mean, those are all questions and issues that we talk about. And then of course, involving the employers, which is this committee's purview, right? Engaging those employers to participate. This slide is just showing you, these are the 5 CTE pathways that the director's office identified as areas of focus. And these are DOE CTE pathways. And then it's really tiny font size. We already, Georgia Skinner, my boss, she's like, I got to talk to Dane about his font size on there. But basically those bullet points on the right are just the programs of study with the DOE in the CTE program. So like under business management, finance and marketing, there are 5 programs of study. You have finance management, you have entrepreneurship, you have marketing management, different things like that. So in each of those 5, those are the areas that the DBED feels like, when you look at the DOE CTE pathways, these are the 5 that are the most aligned with these economic priorities moving forward. Manufacturing, more of the same, just kind of mapping out where we're looking at. So Manufacturing, Food and Product Innovation Network. I kind of wanted to talk about the Food and Product Innovation Network a little bit more, just because that value add facility in Wahiawa. I mean, if you, I, I don't know how many times. I think sometimes Deputy Director Wicker, he talks to so many people he forgets how often he explains the value add facility to me. But I'm always appreciative because it solidifies my understanding of what direction they're looking. And the issue that facility is trying to address is the cliff. He always talks about the cliff after, say, you complete your 2-year degree at community college or you complete a 4-year degree. There's a cliff that happens where you you can either start your career, but then you're starting kind of without really the the total package of skills, and so there's nowhere for you to continue to gain those skills. Um, or if you want to start a business, there's nowhere for you to fail comfortably or fail safely, right? Which a lot of us who have done business before understand. Like, it's really important to be able to have that freedom where it's not gonna it's not gonna totally destroy your whole progress in life if you try to start a business and then it doesn't go. So what DBIT is trying to do is try to bridge that gap and to make it so that whether you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to do a startup, and let's say you're a food truck and you want to expand your menu, or you're a farmer and you have lots of excess produce that you need to figure out how to store or to make it uh, you know uh, so that it has a longer shelf life, or those kinds of things. That's what the value add facility in Wahiawa is able to do, and that's the long term vision for DBIT, is to create these kinds of opportunities where people can either, if they're already in business, how they can kind of ideate and innovate and to scale their business up comfortably, where they're not having to pay the $1 million to buy that piece of equipment, but the DBED or the state can kind of come in and say, hey, we own the equipment, but we can allow you to use it so that you can grow your business. In the creative industries, the idea would be, if you can imagine a fashion student. If a fashion student goes to Honolulu Community College and completes their studies there, they come out, they no longer have access to the big tables and the equipment that they would need to, again, just test their ideas or to try. They can't even fail because the risk is too high. So if they were going to build an innovation center, and for fashion, say, that would be the idea, is to allow these graduates who are coming out of these great programs at Honolulu Community College or UH Manoa's fashion program, and giving them a chance to build their business or to continue to upskill themselves so that they can better compete for the jobs that are available. Um, yeah, okay, I can't talk about that. Yeah, I think this is my last slide. It probably is my last slide. Yeah. So just again, I just put this up here to kind of remind everyone that these are all words on a piece of paper. These are all words on a slide, and ultimately, it's going to boil down to us, like, coming together, started to implement these things. And I feel like we're seeing progress, but as I learned kind of the hard way in the WAM hearing yesterday, it's like they want it now, and so it's kind of having to, how do you kind of come explain or communicate that, okay, we're working towards that, but these are all the obstacles or the challenges that we need to overcome, whether it's process oriented or procurement oriented or staffing oriented, like we heard earlier about the uh, workforce development division. Yeah. So I mean, and these are systemic issues, right? It's not just DBED, it's not just workforce development division. I think across the state we see these kind of challenges. So just kind of having the vision, but then also coming back to what is now, and having the wherewithal to say, okay, what's the next step? How do we continue to build that momentum towards these ultimate goals? So I think that's pretty much it for me. Who's next? You, Danette. Oh, okay. Questions. Sorry.
So I know you're a new designee and you're just getting your feet wet, but I think you've been exposed enough to the vision that we have at workforce development because, you know, I always say workforce development is, I mean, business development is workforce development is workforce development. It they're so tied in together. It's like the two faces of the same coin, I guess, if you want to call it that. Is there anything, at least for your first impressions, that we need to do to further that relationship so that we've started that working together at least this year or last year, right? Where we are very mindful. That's why I wanted you to make a presentation to have the employers, and we're going to circulate this video to other stakeholders as well. And it will be posted on our website. But I think it might be good for you to just elaborate on your impressions and where do you think the nexus should be, or what are some opportunities in the foreseeable future that would allow that synergy to happen between the two agencies? Because we certainly cannot be in two parallel journeys.
That's a great question. So I have two thoughts on it, and some of it is I can kind of connect back to DBID director's office, and then some of it is just my personal perspective. So take it with a big grain of salt. So first of all, I have had what I feel like is really great success with the sector partnership concept, where we're putting industry folks and employers at the table, guiding the discussion around what are the trainings that are needed and where are the opportunities for work, right? Um, I've seen it work firsthand with the creative industries sector partnership. I believe that if I were to talk to the other three sector partnerships, they would agree that a lot of the success has just been getting those sector partnerships set up. And I mean, if you look at healthcare, right, I think healthcare is one of the longest running sector partnerships in the state. I mean, just from Good Jobs Hawaii alone, I think they were able to put over 3,000 people through trainings, and from that, they had a certain, there's not everyone completes the training, but from that, I think over 900 people are now employed in healthcare who completed those trainings. And I don't know if they're all CNAs, who graduated high school and they got their CNA certification or whatever, but I mean, you can see like over the last 7-8 years that the healthcare sector partnership has been in place. A lot of these things take time, right? You can't just flip a switch and the DOE all of a sudden is going to change their curriculum, or UH is going to change their curriculum. So I think number one, sector partnerships is gaining traction across the state as a tool for us to use to improve workforce development and to be more aligned, especially with industry. A lot of what I hear from industry folks is just in general, not just in creative industries, but in general, that there's some kind of misalignment. DOE is trying their best, UH is trying their best, but somewhere along the line, there's some kind of a misalignment between what the training that is needed and what the training that's being offered. And sometimes it has to do with specific technical skill sets. Sometimes it has to do with just basic, you call them soft skills, or grit and problem solving and critical thinking, those kinds of things as well. So I think we probably could do more in kind of finding out, like, I mean, just start asking questions around that. Like, okay, like if you're looking for this, what can we do as either industry or the public sector or education to start to address some of those shortfalls in terms of skills and mindset and those kind of things. So anyway, sector partnerships, that's one. Second thing is when I I feel like the workforce, like what you said, 100% workforce development is business development, is economic development, is workforce development. Like it's all like they have to be in parallel. And I I think there's an understanding in DBED that that's a big part of DBED's Kuleana is to try to develop the economy and try to support the economy, understanding that if we don't have the workforce to be able to scale up these new businesses or existing businesses, then it's not going to work. But you also cannot just focus on workforce development and not have a place for these newly trained people to be able to have a job that stays in Hawaii. So I I wonder if, like, again, I don't want to put words in deputy director or director's mouth, but I do often think that um, they are kind of doing their best to juggle all of the responsibilities that DBED has, respond to the governor, and then respond to the constituents, which is us, right? Which is the employer engagement committee. You know, we are the ones that are like, hey, we need better trained and better workers if we want to scale up or even just maintain our current level of productivity. Um, so they hear it and looking for not quick fixes, but like fixes that are sustainable and make sense within the whole context. I don't know if that answers completely your question, but I guess that's in a big nutshell. Sorry, that's kind of going on and on. Um, what I've observed so far. Yeah, I don't know if anyone else has questions online or what. Oh,
Thank you again, Thomas. If there's any questions, feel free to unmute yourself. But before we move on to the next presentation, if we can have Trong, if you can unmute and introduce yourself, your name and company.
Hi, I'm Trong Malone. I'm with CVS Health and also Workforce Development Council member. Thank you.
Thank you, Trong. And AJ.
Hi, I'm AJ. I'm the HR director at Waihata and Company. Oops, you guys can't see me. There we go.
Great.
Very happy to be here. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thanks, AJ. Oh, Kili'i, looks like you've joined us as well. Kili'i, if you can introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, Kelly Opala'oho, he, they pronouns. I'm with Organizational Development and Learning at Hawaiian Electric and on the Workforce Development Committee with SHRM. So good to see everyone.
All right, thanks for joining us. Okay, with that, I will turn it over to Banette. She will be doing the Executive Director's report.
Okay, thank you all for being here. Appreciate it. So, if you can put up my presentation. So you get a chance to sit through, not sleep through now. And actually, it says sector strategist because this was also the presentation that I was supposed to give, but they ran out of time for me yesterday. So I get to state it here, right? Go ahead, do the second one. Okay. Oh, where is it? Which one? This one? Okay. All right. So here are some of the highlights, and the test is tomorrow, so better keep good notes. These are the 2024 highlights, and for those of you who are council members, this should be, things that you can remember in your sleep. But again, State Unified Plan was completed in April, approved in June, and we started the implementation in December. As of July 1, that's one of the highlights of our year, WDC was restored as an attached agency of the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations. At the moment, we are trying to have a transition plan, and part of that is determining roles and responsibilities between the Workforce Development Division and the Workforce Development Council. We actually meet on a weekly basis to go sort or go through the federal mandates to ensure that nothing falls through the cracks. The goal is after that is done, we hope to execute a memorandum of understanding between the Department of Labor and the council. So this will be institutionalized. The Okay, is that a hint? Okay, so anyway, and right now we're in the middle of actually, or we went through the process of personal recruitment, and in a very short while, maybe tomorrow, we'll be announcing who our new staff would be, and I think you would be very pleased with who we have hired. Okay, so 2024 highlights, focus on board governance. For those of you who aren't been on the board, you know we've been training everyone for state and local boards. We called it the WIOA Academy. A number of you have attended those from June 2024 to January 2025. It's supposed to be 2025. The other thing that we've done is to reassess the purpose and the direction of each of the 6 committees. I think there were roundtable discussions at many of your meetings to have a pulse check as to where the 6 committees are going. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that they're purposeful and that it really is relevant to the conversation. Also, we have had focus on staff training. The U.S. Department of Labor has given us a technical assistance so that our staff, and I'm not just talking about WDC staff, but all the DLIR staff as well, were able to up their or increase their or improve their knowledge base. Okay. One thing that we've done this year is create stronger alliances with our local boards. We meet regularly as executive directors. We try to leverage collective strengths so that if ever there's an issue or challenge, we meet it head on as a team. We've also started, this is our second month, to do monthly performance coordination meetings. In other words, no man is an island, no local area is an island. In other words, we all collaborate together and hold each other accountable on results. So we go through the performance and we identify where the needs are, and then as a group, we collaborate on solutions. Also, WDC has been a convener this year. We chair the Workforce Long-Term Care Summit and Workforce Working Group in February. We've worked on that for the entire year. And we also convened the Transportation Working Group. And in fact, we're getting funding for them. So we had 3 meetings in 2024, and we are getting ready to launch it as a sector partnership. So that's one. And when you look at the fact that transportation, we don't have a career pathway for aviation as well as maritime, and yet we're an island. We're held captive by that. So we're hoping to be able to address that. And for OTS benefit, there's CDL, right, which is a big issue. So that's going to be part of them. And mechanics, yeah. So you should attend our transportation sector partnership meeting. Okay. All right. So some of, again, highlights. In September, we had a Future of Work conference. We had the governor proclaimed September as Workforce Development Month, and we also had Workforce Heroes Awards. And it's going to come again in September of this year. So I'm encouraging people to, if you know anyone who is an unsung hero, to put in their names for Workforce Heroes Awards, which is about this around September time. This year, we chose Senator De La Cruz as Legislator of the Year and President David Lassner for Lifetime Achievement Award. I'm just going to quickly go through this community outreach, but so far we've engaged with more than 50 agencies, and then we got invited to a whole slot of other speaking engagements, including Organization of Women Leaders, thanks to Cheryl Cross. We also provided the opening remarks for the workforce development session during Hawaii on the Hill in Washington, D.C. Okay, so this is last one. This is the one that I think our chair alluded to, and I'd like to be able to address it. This is so at our November 21st, 2024 board meeting, the board approved the utilization of PY program year 2022 unexpended funds. Just by way of context, for those of you who are not familiar, when the U.S. Department of Labor gives monies to the state has 3 years to spend those monies. Any money that does not get spent after 3 years needs to get sent back to the federal, which is a travesty, as you know, and we should not have that. So the local areas are given 2 years to spend it. Whatever they don't spend comes back to us, again, to the state to work on statewide activities. Last year, sadly, and this is really something that I think there's room for improvement, there were $4 million in unexpended funds. So most of those funds have already been allocated, except the director, thanks to him, he gave us 1.5 million for the council to determine what we want to do with it. And so we had a group composed of Deputy Director Bill Kuntzman, Mari Carr from Workforce Development Division, and Lynn Oraki Regan from the Fiscal Office. And we sorted through grant applications. And in the end, we had 3 unexpended funds grants to 3 agencies. UH Community Colleges will be sorting through. So we gave them 468,000. There were 2 objectives. One is on commercial driver's license. The second thing that they're going to be doing is trying to evaluate why is it that, as an example, there were 37,000 enrollees at the community college. Only 53 are WIOA recipients. 53. And when no, it's 53 number. Yeah. So they're going to try to figure out, is it an input or intake issue where their people are just not asking the appropriate question? Because when you think about it, the profile of who goes to a community college are probably the same profile that WIOA would like to fund, right? So that's an opportunity that we're somehow missing. So they're going to be coming up with, maybe there's a technology aspect to it, so they're going to explore that. Okay. The other thing is partners, Hawaii P20. We're giving them 446,000, and these are for intermediaries that are already in existence, but there are gaps in their funding, and so we're filling in that gap for, I think, a number of schools. I'm not gonna quote. And then University of Hawaii Workforce Office is to fund the transportation sector partnership to launch it. Okay, so these are the RFPs. We're giving or we're requesting for proposals. The deadline is February 4. Fiscal training for all. There's a relatively new crew at the ASO, at the Administrative Services Office. PR outreach for AJCs. So if you look at the RFP, it is asking PR companies to explore how to get the word out about AJCs, and that's for 300,000. And it's a PR campaign between March and so many months, and on radio, TV, whatever works for that amount. And then the last thing that we're also doing is asking research companies to do a survey on how we can maximize the utilization of the AJC in Hawaii. So for that, it's like 100,000 for that research project. So total, this is 1.5 million. So any questions? I think that's my last slide. Oh, this is just a focus for 2025. Since we look back, now we can look forward. State Unified Plan implementation, hopefully the full transition as an attached agency. We're continuing to strengthen board committees and really try to create robust membership. So I'll be talking to you after this to kind of maybe design some activities that could promote that. strengthen the local boards, focus on improving American job centers, and of course, this is our goal for WDC. Collaborate with 12 partnerships per year for this year. This is the minimum now. And then 8 events per year. So 2 per quarter. So we're not sleeping. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Banette. Are there any questions? If you do, please feel free to unmute. Um, I know I have a question while the others are thinking. Do we have an idea of what the unexpended numbers look like for plan year 2023?
Part of the reason why we're having a performance coordination meeting is to do just that. So we can make projections because this one, the $4 million, came upon us so quickly. And I think we don't want to be in the same position where we have to scramble to find, how to spend that money. So hopefully this would provide us the forecast and provide us the necessary time to be more deliberate in our approach.
Let me just stand here because my other questions are also, I guess getting an update from you, and I'm sure you could do it during your director's report, just in how the funds, well, no, I mean, in subsequent meetings, yeah, how the other programs are coming along for the funds that were provided. But in addition to that, and Cheryl, maybe if you're still on, I'm not sure if she had to drop off, but I know that we were part of a PR outreach for AJC a few years ago. I think it was Olomana Loomis that was awarded the contract, and we didn't see a whole lot of success. I'm just wondering, are we going to be able to utilize some of the work that was done just a few years ago, or I'm not even sure what the PR outreach RFP is inclusive of?
So this is independent of that. I know. I think my understanding is that was done right before COVID, and they had to shelve that project after COVID. And I think from that point on, it wasn't picked up. However, I think that's a very good point. I think we can build upon the successes that they may have had. But I forgot to mention that part of the um, this project, this RFP is for them to do a survey so that we can measure how successful it is. So do a survey at the beginning of the awareness campaign where we're at, and then do another survey at the end of the 6-month period to find out whether there's been any improvement in that awareness. We might be, going to the bus to do some advertising there because that's very effective, I think. Right.
That was a thumbs up or thumbs down, but okay. Well, thank you. Any questions here? 1 second.
So, my experience at Good Jobs Hawaii kind of brings out the question for me. Like, there was all this funding available, but then the more I learned about like the hoops that each proposed training or whatever had to jump through in order to access those funds to create a free training was like, oh, that's like a whole separate thing. So, do we have something like that, like some kind of a map, a roadmap, or something like that? So, like, for example, like if there's unexpended funds, I mean, you hear those words, it's like, ooh, but then there's also like this, oh, like what is, like, how do I get access to that? And is my idea even, like, I don't know if qualified is the right word, but does my idea for, like, say, setting up a workforce development training or some kind of a support program or whatever, does it even fit? Is there some kind of a, I don't know, like a one pager or like a website or something for people who were interested in maybe accessing that? Or, I mean, besides the RFPs that you already have out, is there other kind of information that can help someone navigate that, or this, and the WIOA funds and what who's the eligible for this funding, that kind of stuff.
I think I'm happy to kind of share that with you, but in the interest of time, but perhaps that's a need and a gap that we should address, and maybe you and I can talk. So the way it works, though, the unexpended funds, there's a little less string. It's still because of federal funding. Definitely, there's still some hoops that you have to overcome, but it's not as stringent as the WIOA funds that are available within those 2 years, because and those are actually part of the local area. So each of again, by way of context, out of the total number of funds, 15% stays at the state, and then the rest of them are allocated for the rest of the local areas. And their allocation is dependent on population as well as economic opportunities. So then after they have 2 years to spend that. So the fact that we have unexpended funds is actually a bad thing. That means they're not spending it on the purpose for which it was intended. Because if there's a whole slot of people who are benefiting from that WIOA funds, there's less money to come back to the state, which is not a bad thing. But that 1 year of unexpended funds that we have to devote to statewide, and I have to underscore statewide, is where the opportunity is for grants, like as I was sharing. But that is contingent on how much monies is coming back from. So it's a catch-22 in a way. Like you want them to succeed, but at the same time, that means less money to the state. But that's okay, because again, for the purpose for which it's intended, it really should be going to benefit the people who have barriers to employment.
Okay, well, thank you very much. So at this time, the public is welcome to announce upcoming events and comment on relevant issues that were not included in this meeting's agenda. Please be advised that in compliance with the Sunshine Law, the committee cannot discuss or act on issues that were not included in the agenda, but issues raised may be included in future agenda for the committee's consideration. If there are any, please unmute yourself and share what that might be. Well, hearing none, and none in the room as well. I just want to adjourn the meeting. Say thank you again very much for attending our Employer Engagement Committee meeting. And our next meeting is scheduled for April 16th. I believe that's a Wednesday at 1:30. So you can join us via Zoom or at the room 317 for workforce development. Thank you again, and have a great day. See you guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.